The passenger pigeon, the gastric brooding frog, the woolly mammoth, they all have one thing in common. They're extinct. Dead as a dodo, if you will. In fact, scientists estimate that 5 billion species have come and gone off this planet. But what if we could bring them back? What if extinction didn't have to be a permanent thing? Right now, scientists are using revolutionary new genetic techniques to try and bring back some of these species. For example, the woolly mammoth could again roam the northern tundra. It sounds like science fiction, but it could happen. So how close are we to de-extinction? The woolly mammoth is an impressive specimen. It was the king of the tundra for millions of years. Then it rather suspiciously disappeared. Most scientists think it's likely that they were hunted to extinction.
Most of the species that have gone extinct in recent years is because we've destroyed the habitat, we've introduced species, or we've killed them outright, like the passenger pigeons. And it was hard to imagine at the time that this bird species that's so abundant could actually be hunted to extinction, but we managed to do that.
While it's normal for species to die out over time because of evolution or cataclysmic events, some scientists think that the Earth is now going through a new age of mass extinction, called the Anthropocene or Holocene extinction, caused by, you guessed it, us. Animals, plants, and insects are dying out at a rate of 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than ever before, with dozens of species going extinct every single day. Some scientists estimate that as many as 30 to 50% of all species could be headed towards extinction by the end of the century. But again, what if extinction didn't have to be a thing? What if we could bring species back at will? To do that, we'd need DNA, an egg cell, and a birthing mom. Which is why Jurassic Park will never be a thing. Never. No.
The dinosaurs are so old that all those chemicals have been turned to rock. There's no source of DNA that we have right now for dinosaurs, so there's no way that we could create a dinosaur because we don't know what its genome looked like.
Can't get dinosaur DNA, so no Jurassic Park on the bench. But we can get DNA dating from tissue and fossils from organisms from 10,000 years ago to 100,000 years ago, so the woolly mammoth is an active project.
That's right, the woolly mammoth could be a thing again.
Mammoths are very different than dinosaurs because scientists are able to go up to the Arctic and find thawing chunks of Earth that still have frozen mammoths in them. And those have DNA. And that's where scientists are going to get the DNA from the mammoth in order to reconstruct its genome. And that's why mammoths are different than dinosaurs, because we have that DNA.
And they're closer than you think to bringing them back.
So right now, there are cells dividing and living in a little petri dish at Harvard that have mammoth mutations. We have a mammoth genome, we have mammoth habitat, we have a good motivation for doing it. We just need the filler in between. Who's making the mammoth?
Whoa, 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 Ben. We're not quite there yet. We've got the DNA, but it's not exactly perfect. DNA degrades over time and has a half-life of about 521 years, meaning we need to fix any mammoth DNA before we can clone it. Cloning is the closest thing we have to reviving extinct animals right now. And we're not bad at it. Remember Dolly the sheep? Now we regularly clone cattle, pigs, camels, frogs, lab rats. We could even clone your pet dog. Now, even with perfect DNA though, cloning is really hard. But they can make DNA more perfect by editing it.
The revolutionary technology that made considering de-extinction possible, which also opens up all those new genetic rescue capabilities, is what's known as precise genome editing. So it's using things like CRISPR-Cas9 or TALENs or megatals.
In case you haven't heard of it, CRISPR-Cas9 is an editing tool for DNA. It's able to go through millions of strands of DNA, locate a specific genome, and then remove or add to it. In de-extincting the mammoth, scientists are using the DNA of an Asian elephant and replacing parts of it with mammoth DNA to make a mammophant, a name I hate. So we have cloning technology, we've got elephant and mammoth DNA that we can edit together, and the plan is to try to artificially inseminate an Asian elephant mom to carry the baby. But just because you bring back one mammoth, that doesn't mean de-extinction. De-extinction, by definition, is bringing back a whole species. And just because we can bring the woolly mammoth back, should we?
I think sometimes people think about de-extinction like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have a passenger pigeon or a California grizzly or, some other species? But it's not just about that species and it being cool. Sometimes it's about those species have a role in the ecosystem which is now empty. So a great example that a lot of people are aware of is wolves in Yellowstone. So recently wolves have returned to Yellowstone. And we've seen huge changes in the ecosystem in Yellowstone that people are attributing to the wolves.
So if we do put a mammoth back into the world, what would happen? Where would it go? What would it eat? If mammoths ate up all the grass, what would happen to the other herbivores on the tundra? If the wolves of Yellowstone can change the course of a river, what could a herd of mammoths do?
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with releasing weird, hairy Asian elephants into the tundra.
Once you have your animals, you breed them up in captivity, condition them for the wild, put them back into the wild, and that's where you start getting into all of your ethical questions of whether or not we should or should not be doing this.
Woolly mammoths have been extinct, and one question is, has that ecosystem already become something different? And when you put woolly mammoths back, are you going to end up having detrimental impacts on things that are living there now?
There are other animals that we might bring back first, like the humble passenger pigeon. We hunted it to extinction and changed the forests of North America. Oak trees need the pigeon for regeneration, as well as for controlling the underbrush, which is a major fire hazard. If we de-extinct the passenger pigeon, we fill a hole in the ecosystem, a hole that we put there.
There's a portfolio of extinct animals that you could potentially bring back. The challenge is trying to figure out which of those are going to have the biggest positive impacts, and then working on those first.
So, in less than 10 years, we could de-extinct the passenger pigeon, and maybe someday we'll have woolly mammoths roaming the tundra, or even see dodo birds waddling around. How close are we to de-extinction? Really, really close. But just because we can, doesn't mean we should. Thanks for watching How Close Are We? Are you worried about androids replacing us? Because maybe you should be.
Truck driving is something that within 5 years it's probably going to be gone.
Like our page, click on follow, and we'll see you next time.